Hey guys, I made top 64 at YCS Dortmund playing Mannadium. I already did a deck profile on the Lithium YouTube channel, but I thought that I was gonna do a more in-depth profile on this channel, explaining my card choices, showing the combo, and talking a bit more about the deck and the event as a whole. So let's just jump into the profile. I played 3 Remarts, 3 Meek, 3 YCS and 2 Scareclaw Reichardt. This is pretty standard. Some people play this at 3 because they're the starter, but I didn't want to play too many normal summons. Some people play Torrid. I didn't play Torrid because I didn't think it was good enough to draw any of the balls. I think this, Fearless is obviously very bad, it doesn't do anything. Torrid is Meek, essentially, but just 1 per turn. But I didn't want to draw any of the balls, and this is the minimum that you could play. I can't play 2 of this because the 3rd one comes up in the combo, and I don't want to play more by playing the Torrids because it's just a bad card to draw. It doesn't really synergize well with the deck because you can search it when you have the combo. When you brick, it doesn't make your hand better. And it's also bad going second because if they remove your normal summon, it's just a dead card in your hand. So I felt this ratio was perfect for these monsters. Perhaps you could play 2 of this, but I wanted to have max consistency in game 1. This is usually a card you side out the 3rd copy of when you go second. And then I played 3 Fenrirs and 1 Scareclaw. So Fenrir, along with the 2 rights off, gave me 5 copies of Fenrir going second, which I felt was a good ratio to have a board breaker along with the other non-engine that I played. This card is also engine card because you can search the Scareclaw cache, and then if you either link this off for Donner to then pop their board so you free up the EMC, or if you have a position or visas, you can pop the Fenrirs to summon the Scareclaw to go into the link 1 and then do the combo. So I felt this was a perfect non-engine and engine card in the same card. It was really good. Then I played 3 Revolution Synchron. This card is the best card in the deck. I think this was the reason to play the deck. The new Visa Synchro is absolutely broken. It's a Visa Star Force on the field, so you can make the Scareclaw link 1. And on summon, you get to search a spell trap that mentions Visas, which is basically any spell trap in your deck. So just by making this, you get to do the full combo. And this card, along with any level 4, is this card. By going into Ancient Fairy Dragon first. So by doing the AFD, you get to add a field spell. And then doing this, you get to do the Scareclaw combo and search a Mannadium extender. Or a Visas extender. And this card, just pushing through hand traps was very important. This card is the best card to imperm, and this card is the best extender to have when they imperm Remarts. And every single card in your deck either gets you to this one or this one, so this is always live whenever you have it. I didn't play Tuning because it was bad into draw. If they would have draw post side, I'd rather not have cards that do such a narrow thing, like only searching this card. So the payoff isn't too high for Tuning, while the punishment if they have draw is super high. Also, Tuning gets a lot worse when you play Tuning, search this, they read it, and then they compulse your 4-star, so this is dead in your hand. It's better when it's unexpected and people had to read it when I did use the Synchro effect. For the field spells, I play 3 Galarian, 2 rights off, 1 Phobia and 1 Rhino. On the Friday, this was the 2nd right Phobia, but I figured that most people wouldn't know what the deck did, so there was no point in building the deck to do a grind game, because if I could just do my combo, I would immediately win. That was the case for every single one of my rounds. I only had my board broken 1 game when I did the full combo board against Mirror Match. But it never came up that I either needed to search the 2nd one of this for follow-up, or that I needed the 2nd of the link 1. This card is also just not a very good card to draw because you need to search in the combo. So drawing this is redundant while drawing this is like Visa's Synchro, the Visa's Starfrost. Also, you can search this off the Visa Synchro, because in some hands you go through both of these, and then Visa Synchro has no way to get you to Visas. If they like ash this, you had to use this to get the Scare Claw, so you had a level 4. And then this comes up just to search the Visa Starfrost. 3 Calarium is pretty obvious, it's the best field in the deck. And 2 of this, because I didn't play 3, I didn't want to draw this and this, because it's just redundancy. There's no other Kashtira cards in my deck that I could search that I wanted to search. Rise Heart is just a brick, it's not worth it, even though it works with the Revolutions. So 5 of Fenrir, along with the Terror to make it 6 if I wanted to, was enough for me. Also, anti-spell is also a concern. Like, I sired out some of the spells going second if I think my opponent is on anti-spell, because I don't want to lose to being flooded out. Also, draw, of course, is a concern. 1 Terraforming to go with the fields. 3 Obsession and 1 Imaginings for the Mannadium spells. This is one of the best cards in the deck. It works with Fenrir super well by doing the full combo. Allows you to extend through hand traps. And this card is just a card to search when you do draw Calarium and have this. Being able to search a essentially Pot of Greed, because you always have 1 card in your hand that you can put back that's not needed for a combo, is very good. Also, the graveyard effect of this is very important, so you can push through them, like removing your monster, because that's the issue with the deck. 1 Arrival. I explained in the Lithium profile why this card is correct to play at 1, but I can go into a bit more thorough here. So, people play 2 of this along with 2 of this for essentially a grind game. But you're playing a combo deck where you put up like 5 to 7 interrupts going first. So you're never gonna grind unless they hand trap you. And I didn't expect people to play hand traps this event because it's not good against Unchained or any of the expected decks. It was also a wide meta, so people wouldn't play like Droll and Nib, and people didn't know what this deck did either, so I didn't think I needed to grind against people. But the reason why this card is particularly bad is it's very bad to draw. It's only good if you can already play. And the only time this card comes up to play 2 of is when you combo, you've already drawn this card, and you need to summon a Rai card under your Scare Claw with 2 other defense position monsters. You can get the search and the draw. That's just unnecessarily greedy. You already win the game at that point. So 1 was perfect. 1 Road Up, 3 Droplets, 2 Talents, and 2 Frost for the non-engine. This card is very good. It's really solid into every single deck of the meta. You can play through like Imperms and other target cards by just sending them to the grave. You can discard Visas and other hard step monsters, so you can push with Vicious if they remove your normal summon. I liked it. The reason why I played 2 of this is this card is a lot better when you go first. This card is a lot better when you go second. But the difference when you go first and second is very marginal for this card. Like if you go second, these are all fine to draw. If you go first, these are usually dead unless they nib you. You can only set a extender like Obsession or Terraforming and hope that they pass back and don't kill you. That's why I didn't play 3 of this. I could have played 3 Talents, 1 Frost, but then it's also the issue of drawing multiples. The deck has a lot of 3-offs that are once per turn, so I didn't want to clog my hands with too many cards that are once per turn when these cards are very similar to one another. And then the 1 Reframing. This card came up a couple times when I went first, but I needed to have this, otherwise they would have broken my board. There's a lot of board breakers, so you actually need this card. If people gravitate more towards hand traps, you could possibly cut this because it's not a very good card to draw going second, obviously. But you decided for cards like Evenly and Dark Ruler still. The side, I have 3 Droll and 3 Nib. I couldn't main 15 hand traps in this deck because I wanted to have as much engine as possible to push through what they did. I felt that was a better game plan than relying on drawing 2 non-engine and 3 engine to try to stop them from playing and then play myself. I felt it was better to just let them do whatever they want to do. And with these board breaker cards, I was able to just push through whatever they had game 1. And for game 2 and game 3, if they play a combo deck, I would at least have the opportunity to have some non-engine that I could draw to stop their combo. And I felt draw was perfect for that. Like, I wouldn't play draw if I could play 15 hand traps because it doesn't pair well with like an Ash. But draw pairs very well with engine cards because you turn skip them and then you just push through their non-engine and they die. So it doesn't matter that you went Nib 1. And Nib is just good against a lot of the rogue decks, expected some like Salamangreat, other random decks that don't really put up a negate and play into Nib. This is not for Unchained or anything. I didn't put in any of these against Unchained. Against Unchained, you just break the board with engine and spells, so you play around their Frost and Talents. But for the combo decks, you really had to have something and pray that they don't have talents to hand rip you, and even if they do, that's probably usually not enough. You just have to stop them from comboing because it's not reliable enough to have board breakers in the mirror match or against tier. It's not consistent enough to break the board. 1 Herald and the 3rd Frost against Pearly. You don't really care if they have the field spell and the continue spell to get a +4 when you herald their guy. Even if they draw cards, they have to draw very specific hand traps to be able to stop you. If you remove their Noir, they're usually left with only 2 to 3 non-engine interrupts, and you can always push for that, so it wasn't an issue. Zombie World, mainly against Flunder. When they shift to you, you can use Revolution Synchron or hard draw this or Terraforming to just play Zombie World. They can't play, they pass, and then you kill them on turn 3. Similarly against Salamangreat, Unchained, any deck that just dies to Zombie World. Even Chimera Branded, it's good against. The 1 Duster, 2 Lightning Storm, and 3 Cosmic. This might be kind of weird to side 6 back removals in a combo deck, while the back row matchups are usually very few and far between, and they're usually not trying to floodgate you anymore, like Lab puts up interruptions instead rather than floodgates. But the reason why I played this was because I can side these into a wide variety of the decks. Like Cosmic, I can side going first against the mirror match because it hits the field spells. I can side this going first against Infernoble because it hits the equip spells. I can side this going first against my top 64 matchup against Mikanko, where you can Cosmic their E-Tel and Compulse equip spell, and I would have won the game if I had this instead of Droplet, but I didn't. So just having something that I can side for when I go first, by taking out the either Droplets if it's not good enough, or the talent cards, so I wouldn't have dead cards when I went first. But I didn't want to side anti-spell, D-barrier, or any floodgate going first because my win percentage going first was already so high. I didn't want to have a card that's in my siding just for going first. Well, this card does come into a lot of decks when I go second. Like, I wanted this against Unchained, so you can hit their trap by banishing it. I also wanted going first against Unchained, so you can hit the trap when they target it to try to push through your board. This also hits anti-spell against Unchained or any of their floodgates they might side in. So I just wanted to be able to play going games 2 and game 3 against the trap decks or the decks that try to flood me out. But these also come in against Flunder because you can Raigeki their monsters and then they don't have N-Pen. You can hit the trap and standby phase against Flunder so they can't rise at you. This came again a lot up against a lot of random decks where you wouldn't side these cards if you play Unchained, but when I play a combo deck I can't play these hand traps to try to stop them 1 for 1. I want a card to stop a specific interaction and my engine pushes through what they have, and that ended up working out. So for the extra deck I have 1 Scareclaw Lightheart. Only one of this, as I mentioned previously. I don't think you need a second one, at least for this event. Maybe it changes if people play the deck differently, or if people know what the deck does and you need follow-up. 1 Donner, just for Defender to link it off so you can summon the Scareclaw. This card is probably cuttable. 1 Cross Sheep for the combo. 1 Appaloosa for the combo. 1 Baguska. I wanted this if I get flooded by either Droll or Shifter. I can just make up a Baguska, they probably pass turn if they play something like Flunder. There's very few outs to this. There's no engine outs to this, it has to be non-engine. And if they have shift to imperm and full combo, then they win, I guess. But just in theory, something that I can have that turn skips them and then I kill them turn 3. Same as the Ancient Fairy into Somber World idea. This card is insane. By playing Revolution Synchron, you make this every single time you draw Revolution Synchron, and then you can play through pretty much any hand trap because it gives you, this gives you a field spell, this gives you a Visa spell trap and the right phobia, so you get 3 cards by just using a level 4 in Revolution Synchron. And if they don't have any hand traps, you do the full combo. If they have hand traps, you can still make a good enough board to beat their 4 or 5 cards left in hand. Like, the only way you can stop this deck is if you have 2 hand traps, and even 2 hand traps is usually not enough. I had so many extenders I could have had in my top 64 feature game 3 that would allow me to push through both of his hand traps. But unfortunately my hand was only 4 live cards, so it didn't work out. Crystal Wing, sometimes when you draw Fenrir and Revolution Synchro hands, you don't want to not summon the Fenrir, so you end up playing into Nib. And then you want something that you can use to threaten the Nib early enough. And some hands can't make Baron early enough before you like summon the Meeks and then pop them and bring them back. And that plays way too hard into Nib. But Crystal Wing is a way to make Nib protection with just Revolution Synchron and AFD early enough to threaten it. Also you can make this, then you can Crimson Dragon target this to summon this to get back a ball to make a 10-star. Also comes up sometimes. So it's a good card to have on the board because then you can just make the Crimson and have a good target for it without making Baron first, which is usually what you do. Axel to ladder up with the Meek to make a 10, and then the Visa Synchro. This card is by far the best card of the deck. The reason to play the deck, it's like the World Chalice, Ibjust of Iskar, or the Jiangxing Denglong. By having a card in your extra deck that you don't have to draw, you just try to build your deck around to summon a specific monster in your extra deck, and that monster is your full combo. I like the interaction a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think it's very good deck building because you don't have to draw specific cards. You can just lay a deck with a specific end goal in mind, which is making this and then comboing off. So my deck was super consistent. I bricked, I think twice the entire tournament, which was very good for 12 rounds of Swiss and Top Cut. So my deck was perfect for the event. I wanted a consistent deck for a format that's very open. I didn't want to brick and lose to some random decks that I didn't prepare for because the format was so vibe, because it was right after a new ban list. So I felt like consistency deck was the correct choice, and this was the most consistent deck I could find. It also wasn't bad, obviously. The Baron, Xingjing, and Disappointed for the 10s. This is part of the end board because the end board you put up has no removal. You just put up negates, and sometimes that can be kind of awkward if they have the talent cards to bait your negates and then take something, or a way that they can like Zeus you and then make a big Zeus and then Zeus you twice so you can't negate it enough with like Apo or Baron, and you've already used the counter trap or something. So this is a good way to just like have a clean removal to their cards and grave, because the Mannadium counter trap is a quick effect to banish in the grave to shuffle back up to 3 Mannadium monsters. So you have a easy way to trigger the Shenging in your opponent's turn. Also, this comes out a lot on the second. When you don't want to make this because it doesn't do enough, you can do the Shenging and summon Vicious. This triggers Shenging by banishing materials for Vicious. This also pops a card, and this banishes a card and a card in their grave. So if they have like a floater in the grave, if they have something that you can't remove on the field, like a Borland for example, you can just banish it with Shenging and attack for game. These both gaining attack makes going up to 8k very easily when you go second. And then this part is for the combo. You can bring back any of your banished Ladder Darks to continue extending. This also gives you follow-up because you have to banish your break to summon this, and you can bring them back to have this as turn free. This is also a pretty good interrupt into a lot of the decks. And then the Crimson Dragon, yeah, just insane. And 2 Vicious. So that was the deck profile. The end board that I usually end up making is a Palooza for free. Baron changing the spotter and the counter trap. So this is, if this survives all the attacks, which usually you can like make this unkillable by reframing, banishing to trigger changing to banish their monster threatening to attack over this. And especially if they're in main phase 2, it's very difficult for them to threaten your board. So if this survives, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 interrupts. It's just not possible to push through with an average hand for most decks. Even if they can pick their 6 perfect board breakers, it's usually not enough because you have Search Stone follow-up, and you have this as a follow-up to attack for game. So the board's basically unbreakable. I didn't think there was a neat reason to play the Calamity Lock, because that's just 2 cards in your extra deck that are not good going second, they're only good going first, and when you already do the full combo. And if I can just do this, when I draw the full combo, I win the game anyway. But playing 2 cards in the extra deck that would just essentially be dead every single time I went second is kind of like maining anti-spell fragrance in a deck where you want to go first. It just makes going first better and going second worse, which is not something I wanted to do. I was very happy with my deck choice. I didn't think there was anything that I could change, particularly with the knowledge I had for the meta. There was a bit more tier than I initially expected, so perhaps I will side this deals in the future. But this format is very short-lived, so I don't think it really matters. But I think with the prep that I had for the event and the short time we had after the ban list to decide what to play, I think I did a very good choice, and I'm very happy with my performance. I went 8-0 and then lost the last round of Swiss day 1, and then I lost, that was to Chimera Branded. I was lost to Chimera Branded in day 2. So barring going second against a combo mirror, which essentially is what Chimera Branded is, the deck was very good. I did win a lot of die roll. I think I won 7 die rolls in Swiss out of 12 rounds, which is slightly above 50%. But a lot of my games were actually 2-0, so even with no knowledge going second into game 2, I was able to beat the board and win against them. And I don't think I got particularly lucky at any point in the event. I think it was like a pretty average event for me. So that kind of goes to show how this deck is very good at going second, despite people saying it's not. I think a lot of the decks on YouTube that you see focus way too much on going first. They don't play Fenrir, which is just a good going second card, and they build a deck in a very greedy way, where they try to optimize going first, and they don't consider that fact that you have to go second. And they play suboptimal cards like Ash, which makes going second worse, because the Calarium boosts your attack if you have a tuner in the grave. So by playing board breakers and just playing the deck in a format where people don't play draw was correct. Yeah, I think that's it for the deck. I think you should never just listen completely to what someone says on a YouTube tier list about a deck. You should also test the deck for yourself and think about why the deck might be bad, why the deck might be good. A lot of good players usually have some oversight because people don't have the time to test the deck for 100 hours, especially when there's 20 different decks in the format, which is not a feasible thing to do. So a lot of people go based on theory from a few hours of testing, or just theory from thinking about a deck. So you should always test for yourself and see why a deck might not be good, and think critically why you might be losing. But yeah, that's it for the profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you find this insightful. Shouts to our sponsors, Ultimate Card and Metamats. Make sure to check out my card market store, Frozen Card Gaming on Card Market, our social media, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.